Called it in-law. He was out there. We had some tough ones there, in-law, so they thought. One morning I drove in, and a bunch of them was standing out there with Officer Hicks. And he called me over when I got out of my car. He said, "Mr. Hunter, come over here. I want you to tell you gentlemen something." And he told them, he said, "Whatever you do, don't come after this man." He said, "Because I am afraid of Mr. Hunter myself." Now you saw the size of him and the size of me. Gentlemen, I don't brag, but I know, and let me tell you something right now, I'm doing this for your benefit because there are more people out there like me. I know more ways to kill you than I care to remember. Now stop walking around here in school thinking you the baddest thing that God ever put on this earth. I know in Vietnam I got 3 or 4 12-year-olds will take any one of you and turn you inside out. So cut it out. The only thing you should be trying to do is get something up here.
Come on, G.
Excuse me.
On my phone.
You all can come in and have a seat, please.
Please have a seat.
Hey, pass me my bag.
Hey,
Tell him to pass me my bag.
Ladies,
hey, you guys can sit on the floor.
I'm not sure here, Mr. Woods. There you go. I think somebody's sitting there. Right there.
Huff said he did vacuum his floor.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, if you have earbuds, please remove them out of respect for Mr. Hunter. Thank you so very much. Please listen to
If you
what
feel
Mr.
like you're
Hunter
gonna have
has
to
tell
talk
you.
out of turn, you need to leave.
If you're gonna be disrespectful, you might as well get up and leave. Otherwise, sit quietly and be respectful to Mr. Hunter. Listen to what he has to say. You might learn something. But if you're gonna talk while he's talking, just get up and walk out. And give somebody else a chance to listen and learn. Don't let this gentleman think he came over here to waste time, because he didn't. He has some very precious, long-lasting history, and it's your history. So pay attention and be respectful. Thank you, Mr. Hunter.
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I know, or I feel that I know, that a lot of you don't want to hear what I have to say. But take it from me. it's important to you that you listen and learn what I'm going to say and take it in, because you're going to need it. Because I'm standing before you at 80 years old, I was not born 80 years old. You are here in Raleigh in a school system that looked nothing like the school system that I had to go through. You got computers that all you need is 2 fingers, and you can go anywhere in the world. You got computers that does your thinking for you, type out your reports that these nice teachers have you do to teach you something. I didn't have that. I had to go to Richard B. Harrison Library for days on end to get one report done. And it was handwritten. You need to listen. You need to listen. This is your history, not mine. I've made mine already. I knew these men that did it, and they died for you to have what you have here now. They died. I served in Vietnam. And many of my friends died. Not to see you come in here and act up. They didn't die for that. When you see me cry, I'm not crying for me. I'm crying for them. Because I'm glad that they didn't see you come in here and act like that. And I don't want to think that they died for nothing. Always remember something. Freedom is not free. Freedom is not free. Somebody has to fight for it. And you ain't old enough yet, but you are enjoying it. And you're acting up. And if you keep acting like that, you don't deserve it. But some of my best friends died. Freedom is not free. Somebody has to pay. And they paid for you. Not for me, because I was already there. You're disrespectful to the teachers. And not one of you could take this classroom over and do a good job. You're disrespectful to yourselves. You're disrespectful to the pretty young ladies in here. And you young ladies let them do it. Don't do that. Call them out. If I'm going to tell you about this, but I got to get your attention first. I've got it. Some of you gentlemen think he's pretty tough. I know some people who chew you up and spit you out. Being 80 years old, I could myself. You may not think so, but believe me, I know more about killing than you'll ever hear in your life. I know how to do it faster. I didn't want it, but I had to learn it. And that's time for you to learn something. Some manners. Learn some of your history of the men and women that gave lives for you. Take it back home. Some of you may not be born here, but you were here. In the land of the free, and the home of the brave is called. Take it from me. It was not always the land of the free. I was born here. I was raised here. I'm looking around and I see a rainbow of colors in here. When I went to school, everybody looked like me, including the teachers. Everybody. There was no mixture. You got a chance to learn other cultures from people from other countries. Learn their language. If you don't remember anything else I say, and I'm going to tell you about this in a minute, you remember one thing. Knowledge is power. If you know something and you can prove it, then you can go anywhere you want to go. Nobody likes a dummy. What do you have to offer? What do you have to offer? Anybody can act up. That's easy. But in the classroom, in the course of this, I'm going to ask people to ask questions. I had a young lady that sat right here in this seat, right here. And I told her, I said, you are special to me, because she was one of the only ones that would ask the question. Nobody knows everything. I don't care what Donald Trump says. And he's dumber than a sack of 20-penny nails. And I'll tell him that to his face. Nobody knows everything. But you can get a head start. What grade is all of this?
It's a mixture of 9th,
Ninth
10th,
through 12th.
12th.
All 4 years of high school. Together. We didn't have that. You were in the 9th grade, you stayed in the 9th grade with your 9th grade classmate. 10th grade, same thing. 11th grade, same thing. 12th grade. But you can always, you can go together and learn from each other. Everybody in here, you can teach him something. Her, I'm sorry. Or teach you something. Everybody in here can learn from each other. I was asked here today to tell you some history about a great group of Americans. They were called the Tuskegee Airmen. I had the honor of being one of them. I still do. These men fought in World War II. And I tell my white friends that like to think that everything was in their way, I said, you know, if it hadn't been for these men, I said, do you sprechen Sie Deutsch? Anybody here German? Nobody here. I said, do you sprechen Sie Deutsch? They look at me. That means I'm asking them, do you speak German? I said, well, you think the Tuskegee Airmen, because the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, was on their way. If the Tuskegee Airmen hadn't defeated them, a lot of us, y'all weren't born yet, a lot of us would be sprechen Sie Deutsch today, speaking German. But you have the opportunity to never let that happen. Never. Back in 1941, when America was getting ready to go into the war, there were a group of men that wanted to fight for their country. But they didn't want to fight as a soldier on the ground. They wanted to fight from there. They wanted to fly aircraft. But America, being the way it was at that time, Said, you colored boys, they have another choice name for us that I won't use. You all know what it is. So I'll just say, what they call us, you colored boys were not smart enough to fly sophisticated aircraft like this. So they said no. But our congressmen, a few of them, and our liberal newspapers went on to bombard America. We are Americans. Why can't we learn how to fly? So finally, they started a program called for the Tuskegee Airmen. They took 30 men, took them to a little school in Alabama that you all have heard of now called Tuskegee. And there they were going to train them to fly sophisticated aircraft. But they said these certain things that we were not capable of doing. They said that colored men were lazy. They said colored men were cowards. And when the fighting got rough, we would run and desert. They said colored men was not capable of operating the controls of an airplane and the foot pedals in the plane, like you drive a car. In other words, they say we couldn't walk and chew chewing gum at the same time. We did not have that coordination. Well, we kept fighting. So finally, they let us come to Tuskegee and they started the program. During that course of time, we got a president called Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The Second World War was beginning to come about. And the Tuskegee program was not going too well. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of his wife, a very famous lady, Miss Eleanor Roosevelt. Raise your hand if you've heard about her. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Eleanor Roosevelt was a different kind of woman. Let me give you another little tidbit that you might not know. The first person, black person, to go through the front door of the White House was a good friend of hers. Anybody can tell me her name? Very famous black lady. There is a college in Florida named after her.
Mary Bethune.
Bethune-Cookman College. And I hate to say this, but Miss Bethune was one of the ugliest people I ever seen in my life. But she was one of the smartest. And she was good friends with Miss Eleanor Roosevelt. She loved her. So she had talked to her about this, and the things was not going too good at Tuskegee. So Miss Eleanor Roosevelt got in her plane, and she flew down to Tuskegee. Now you got to remember, this is the first lady of the land. Her husband's president of the United States. She can go anywhere she wants to go. But she went down to Tuskegee. When she landed there, she had an aide. All the first ladies have an aide. Most of the time, it's a general. She had a 2-star general was her aide, 2 or 3 stars, whatever. And she got out of her car and she wanted to meet the Tuskegee Airmen. They were in a big room like this, sitting around. And she walked in and she looked at them. And she walked over to one of the pilots, instructor pilots there. His name was Chief Anderson. And she walked over to Chief, and she leaned down at him, and she said, "Can colored boys fly?" And he looked up at her and said, "Yes, ma'am, we sure can. Would you like to go for a ride?" She said, "Yes, I would." So they went out, got in her car, and they drove down to the flight line. And there was a Piper Cub sitting there. Piper Cub has 2 seats, the pilot and the passenger. They climbed in. Chief was the pilot. He sat in the front. Miss Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady of the land, she had to sit in the back. Do y'all get the significance of that? So they took off, and they flew around the skies of Alabama. And when they took off, the Secret Service guards her. Now, once they got in the airplane, they were but 2 seats. Where the Secret Service gonna sit? He sure can't hang on the wing. So they took off and they ran to the phone. They called the White House. And they got the president. They said, "Mr. President, Miss Eleanor has taken off with one of them colored flyers and she's flying around the skies of Alabama. What are we gonna do?" Now you have to know a little history. I was 8 or 9 years old. I got to meet President Roosevelt. He had a very good sense of humor. And they said, Secret Service says, "What are we gonna do?" Franklin D. said, "You gonna do exactly what I'm gonna do." And they said, "What's that?" I said, "You gonna sit there and wait till she comes back." So they did. Miss Eleanor got off the plane. She went over, went to Chief, and she said, "Miss Eleanor, how did you like the ride?" She said, "I loved it. Thank you very much." And then she walked over to the 3-star general standing there. And she walked up to him and she said, "General, I want you to tell me why these men are not already fighting for their country." And the general looked at her and he said, "Miss Eleanor, I don't know." She got in her car, drove to the other side of the base, got in her airplane, and she flew back to Washington, D.C. And that evening, when they sat down to have dinner, and the president is like any other married man. He's sitting there with his wife, and she began to talk. And Franklin D. began to listen. And he found out that the Tuskegee Airmen could fly. And things changed. Shortly thereafter, the war broke out. And the Tuskegee Airmen were sent to Italy. And there they learned to fight the Germans. Now, in a sense of speaking, this is where the fun began. How many of you saw this movie, Red Tails? You saw Red Tails. What you saw is a depiction of what actually happened in Germany. What you see there is a German jet plane. They were the first ones to have one. It was called an ME-262. What you see shooting him down is what you see right there. A P-51 Mustang. What you see here are Tuskegee Airmen. These are actors. This base was a base in Italy called Ramatelli. That's where they were stationed. Now, where did I put it? The man that shot down the first German jet is right here. He was a commander of one of the the 4 fighter squadrons that the Tuskegee Airmen had in Italy. His name was Roscoe Brown, Dr. Roscoe Brown. That's him standing with President Bush, giving us the medal that I'm going to show you that I have. He shot down the first German jet. Now the P-51 was the fastest fighter in World War II. It was decided by all countries that participated in World War II. That was the best fighter plane there. That propeller-driven plane could break the sound barrier in a power dive. That's how fast it was. But it could not, supposedly could not beat the MA-262. What happened? They were getting ready to go on a mission. The Tuskegee Airmen and their maintenance people were the Air Force best. They were that good. I talked to Roscoe before he died. I said, how did you do this? He said they were getting ready to take off, and he was on the runway, and something broke down on his plane. They wouldn't tow it back to the hangar. They fixed it right there. His squadron had taken off and left it. He took off, and he was, as much as he could get out of this plane, he was trying to catch him. He could see him up ahead of him, but coming in from the right side when he was flying, he saw a flight of these jets. And they were going to come in behind the Tuskegee Airmen and shoot them down. But they didn't see Roscoe. He said he had to figure out a way to warn them. He couldn't break what we call radio silence, because when you're flying, you're on a frequency. The Germans could tune into that frequency, and they spoke English as good as we did. So he knew that if he did that, they would know he was there. So what he did, the P-51 has 6 50 caliber machine guns, 3 on each wing. See those there? Those are 50 caliber machine guns. When I was overseas, I had to put the belts of ammunition, go right there into these guns. They're in the wing. They're so powerful that when they fire them, the plane slows down. It drops back. He fired all 6 of these at one time. And let me tell you something. They make a lot of noise. And his crew, his group, heard him. And they looked back over their head and they saw that the Germans were coming. So when they did that, they did what we call, they broke formation. You're flying in a formation, probably 3, like this. And when they did that, when he did that, they broke formation. One may pull up and go, one may go drop down, and one may peel off this way. The Germans heard it too.